Chosen one, listen carefully. Archangel Michael says a secret file in heaven has your name on it, and it was just unlocked for the first time after very long. What's inside will shock you. Open immediately. This is not a random message. This is not a coincidence. And this is not something that appears twice in one lifetime. Right now, in the courts of heaven, something that has remained sealed for years has been opened. A divine archive, a heavenly record, a spiritual file that carries your name, not someone else's, yours. And it was locked. Locked because the timing was not right. Locked because your spirit was not yet prepared. Locked because certain battles had to be fought before the truth could be revealed. But today the seal has been broken. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian over divine mysteries. He does not move without purpose. He does not speak without authority. When he says a file has been unlocked, it means heaven has authorized a release. And what is inside this file will shift how you see your past, your present, and what is about to happen next. You have felt it, haven't you? That strange pressure, that unexplained resistance, that sense that something bigger has been waiting behind the curtain of your life. It was not delay. It was preparation. Because inside this heavenly file is a record of assignments that were marked over you before you were even aware of your own strength. It contains moments that almost broke you, but did not. It contains prayers you whispered in silence, that were documented in gold ink. It contains battles you survived that others never saw. And here is the shocking part: the file was not locked to keep blessings from you. It was locked to protect you from information that would have overwhelmed you too soon. There are names written in that file, names of people who were assigned to help you, and names of people who were assigned to test you. There are opportunities that were postponed, not denied. There are doors that were closed, not as punishment, but as redirection. Archangel Michael is revealing this now because you have crossed a spiritual threshold. You survived something recently, maybe silently, maybe without applause, but heaven noticed. And when heaven notices endurance, it responds with revelation. Inside this file is also a timeline adjustment. Yes, you heard that correctly. What was meant to take years will now begin to compress. What felt distant is now approaching. What seemed impossible is now aligning. But there is a reason this message says open immediately. Because revelation without readiness creates confusion. You must open this understanding with humility, not ego. With faith, not fear. The enemy tried to convince you that you were forgotten, that your efforts meant nothing, that your tears fell on empty ground. But if you could see what is written in this file, you would realize something powerful. You were never overlooked. You were being positioned. Archangel Michael stands over this file like a warrior over treasure, not to hide it, but to ensure that when it is revealed, it empowers you rather than inflates you. And here is what will truly shock you. There is a section labeled Acceleration. This section has just been activated. It contains divine approvals that were waiting for specific spiritual maturity. It contains favor that will not make sense to those around you. It contains restoration that will silence every silent doubt you carried. But there is also a warning attached. With revelation comes responsibility. When you understand what heaven has written about you, you cannot return to small thinking. You cannot shrink yourself to fit old environments. You cannot pretend you are unaware. The file proves something undeniable. You were never ordinary. The reason attacks felt personal is because your assignment is personal. The reason delays felt targeted is because your breakthrough is targeted. The reason you felt isolated is because preparation often happens in private. Archangel Michael is not dramatic without reason. When he declares that something has been unlocked after a very long time, it means cycles have ended, the spiritual season has closed, and a new one is now opening with force. You may feel sudden clarity. You may feel unexpected detachment from certain people. You may feel a pull toward decisions you have been postponing. That is not random. That is activation. Inside this heavenly file is also a reminder of who you were before fear touched you, before disappointment shaped your expectations, before betrayal taught you to guard your heart. Heaven remembers the original version of you, and now that version is being restored. But listen closely. Not everyone will celebrate what is inside your file. Some people benefited from your confusion. Some people felt comfortable when you doubted yourself. Some systems relied on you staying small. When the contents of this file begin to manifest in your life, you will notice shifts. Some connections will fade. Some environments will feel tight. Some conversations will feel outdated. Do not panic. This is confirmation. Archangel Michael does not unlock files for entertainment. He unlocks them for advancement. And advancement requires movement. Right now, there is a spiritual reorganization happening around you. Pieces are moving. Conversations are being arranged. Opportunities are being aligned. Protection is being intensified. You might not see everything yet, but you will feel it. The file contains one final section labeled Evidence. Evidence that what you prayed for is closer than you think. Evidence that what you feared losing was never truly yours. Evidence that what is coming cannot be blocked by what tried to stop you. This is why the message says open immediately. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now. Because hesitation can delay alignment. Take this as your confirmation that something long sealed has shifted. The spiritual atmosphere around your name has changed. Archangel Michael has sounded the signal. The file is open. And what happens next will not look like your past. Faithful soul, something deeper is unfolding now. When the secret file in heaven was unlocked, it did not open with noise. It opened with authority. And the first page inside that file carries a heading that reads, Original Identity. This is the identity that existed before doubt touched your confidence, before rejection shaped your behavior, before life tried to convince you that you were less than what God declared. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to that original declaration. He remembers the moment your name was spoken in the courts of heaven. He remembers the assignment attached to your spirit. And what shocks many people is this: the attacks you faced were evidence of value, not weakness. A one wastes energy attacking something insignificant. The file reveals that many of your struggles were not random storms. They were targeted distractions. There were seasons when you almost gave up, when you questioned your worth, when you wondered why doors kept closing. But what you did not know was that those closed doors were documented as protection. Protection from premature exposure. Protection from relationships that would have drained your destiny. Protection from platforms that were too small for your future. You thought you were being denied. In reality, you were being refined. There is a section inside this heavenly file called Unauthorized Access. It lists every moment something tried to enter your life without divine permission. Every manipulation. Every false opportunity. Every disguised delay. And next to each one is a mark that says, blocked. Archangel Michael does not just fight visible battles. He intercepts invisible ones. The reason you are still standing is not luck. It is interception. And here is where it becomes even more intense. The file shows that a new clearance level has been granted over your life. This means certain blessings that were previously restricted are now accessible. Certain connections that could not locate you before will now find you. Certain confirmations that felt silent will now become undeniable. But with new clearance comes a shift in behavior. You cannot carry old insecurities into new authority. You cannot respond to future favor with past fear. This is why you have been feeling a subtle pressure to grow, to detach, to think differently. It is not discomfort. It is elevation. Archangel Michael is announcing that heaven is adjusting your positioning. What once intimidated you will soon seem manageable. What once confused you will begin to make sense. What once delayed you will now accelerate you. However, pay close attention to this warning. Not everyone around you is prepared for your upgrade. When the file unlocks, it activates visibility. And visibility attracts both support and scrutiny. You may notice that some people become distant. Others may question your decisions. A few may attempt to remind you of who you used to be. Do not shrink. The file does not record who you used to be. It records who you are becoming. There is also a timestamp in that document, a divine marker indicating that the waiting period has fulfilled its purpose. That long season of feeling overlooked was not abandonment. It was alignment. Every delay synchronized you with a specific future moment, and that moment is approaching faster than you expect. You may feel an urgency rising within you, a desire to reorganize your priorities, a clarity about what no longer fits. This is the internal evidence that the heavenly file is active. Do not ignore it. If this message is resonating with your spirit, take a moment right now to engage with it. Like this video as a sign that you receive this activation. Share it with someone who has been questioning their season. Comment your agreement so your voice aligns with what heaven is releasing. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing spiritual movement. When you actively respond, you are declaring that you are not a passive observer. You are a participant in your destiny. Because what is coming next requires agreement. And here is something powerful you must understand. Inside the file is a record of your endurance. Heaven has counted every silent tear. It has measured every lonely night. It has recorded every time you chose integrity over convenience. None of it was wasted. There is a reward connected to endurance. The acceleration section we mentioned earlier is now moving into implementation. This means circumstances will begin shifting in ways that feel almost too precise to be coincidence. Conversations will happen at the right time. Resources will appear at the right moment. Doors will open without struggle. Do not sabotage it by doubting it. Archangel Michael is not announcing this to excite you temporarily. He is announcing it to prepare you permanently. You are stepping into a season where clarity replaces confusion, where authority replaces apology, where confidence replaces hesitation. But remember this carefully. The file was unlocked after a very long time for a reason. It means you are no longer spiritually fragile. You are ready to handle what once would have overwhelmed you. And what is about to be revealed next will confirm everything. Hold on, because what unfolds from here will connect the hidden battles of your past to the visible victories of your future. Beloved warrior of destiny, the revelation is intensifying. The secret file in heaven did not open halfway. It opened completely. And what is written in the deeper pages is something that explains the patterns of your life in a way you never expected. There is a section titled, Preserved Through Fire. This part of the file documents seasons that should have ended you, but did not. It lists moments where the pressure was unbearable, where misunderstanding surrounded you, where isolation felt louder than any voice of encouragement. Yet beside each of those moments is one repeated phrase, sustained by divine order. Archangel Michael was not distant during those battles. He was assigned. There were confrontations in the unseen realm over your future. There were arguments in spiritual courts about your potential. And every time something tried to claim you prematurely, a defense was raised. You were preserved for a reason. The file reveals that there were opportunities that looked attractive but carried hidden consequences. There were alliances that seemed promising but would have slowly diluted your calling. There were shortcuts that could have given you temporary success but permanent compromise. And every time you felt frustrated by delay, heaven was recording restraint as maturity. Here is what will truly shock you. There is a page labeled Attempted Diversions. It shows how close certain plans came to succeeding against you. It shows conversations that were meant to mislead you. It shows emotional traps that almost redirected your path. But next to each diversion is a mark that says, interrupted. Interrupted by timing. Interrupted by wisdom. Interrupted by protection you did not even realize was operating. You thought you were making random decisions. But the file shows that your spirit was being guided beyond your awareness. Archangel Michael now reveals this because you are stepping into a season where you must recognize your own spiritual weight. You are not fragile. You are fortified. There is also a document inside that file called Authorized Restoration. This is where everything changes. It lists areas where you lost confidence. It lists relationships that broke your trust. It lists dreams that felt buried. And beside them, written clearly, are the words, scheduled for return in greater form. What you thought was gone forever was actually being upgraded. Heaven does not restore things at the same level they were lost. It restores them with increase. You may soon notice something unusual. Situations that once drained you will no longer affect you. People who once intimidated you will no longer have influence over your emotions. Old fears will begin to feel irrelevant. That is not emotional numbness. That is evidence of growth. And here is something even deeper. The file contains a prophetic notation that reads, Exposure of hidden truth. This does not mean chaos. It means clarity. There were things happening around you that you sensed but could not confirm. There were energies that felt misaligned but you lacked proof. There were behaviors that did not sit right in your spirit. The unlocking of this file activates discernment. Truth will surface without you forcing it. Masks will fall without confrontation. What was concealed will reveal itself naturally. And when it does, you will not feel shocked. You will feel validated. Because deep down you already knew. Archangel Michael is preparing you for a season of unveiled reality. Not to make you suspicious, but to make you wise. Not to make you fearful, but to make you focused. At the end of this section in the heavenly file, there is a seal marked with a number. It represents completion of a cycle and activation of a promise. This is not symbolic. It is specific. Your endurance has activated a release. Your obedience has triggered authorization. Your survival has qualified you for acceleration. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, do not remain silent. Type I receive the revelation in the comments if you know this confirmation is for you. Blessing code 3147 has just been released over those who align with this truth. Now hear this clearly. The file did not unlock just to inform you. It unlocked to transition you. You are moving from hidden preparation to visible manifestation. From questioning your path to owning it. From waiting for validation to walking in authority. And as this transition begins, there is something sacred you must understand. The timing of this message is not accidental. There are thousands who will hear words today, but this specific revelation is landing on those whose files have actually been opened, those who endured silently, those who stayed faithful when it would have been easier to walk away. This is your confirmation, and as heaven opens this record over your life, there is a greater mission unfolding. When you sow into divine messages like this, you are not supporting a channel. You are fueling the spread of light into souls that are still waiting for their file to be unlocked. The scripture declares, "I will open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing you cannot contain." And this is not a distant verse. It is God speaking directly into this moment. When you release a super thanks, join the membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are planting seed into fertile ground where revelation multiplies. I am inviting you into obedience, not obligation. This is a prophetic act, a response to what has just been activated over your name. As you give, may oil flow over your house, may doors open ahead of you, and may acceleration meet you at every turn. Step into this moment boldly and sow where heaven is speaking. The file is open, and what unfolds next will confirm that this was only the beginning of something far greater than you imagine. Anointed listener, what you are about to understand will change how you interpret every delay you ever faced. The heavenly file that carries your name did not just reveal preservation and restoration. It revealed timing codes. Yes, timing codes written beside major events of your life. Dates when doors closed. Dates when people exited. Dates when you felt abandoned or confused. And next to many of those dates is a quiet notation, divine interruption for future alignment. You thought something ended because you were not enough. The file proves it ended because it was not aligned. Archangel Michael now stands not only as a protector but as a revealer of patterns. He is showing you that nothing in your journey has been wasted. Even your mistakes were redirected. Even your detours were monitored. Even your emotional breakdowns were recorded as breakthroughs in progress. There is a section in the file labeled, "Delayed but not denied." This is where the shock deepens. It lists specific blessings that were approved long ago but held back for precise reasons. Some were delayed because the environment around you was unstable. Some were delayed because certain people needed to exit your life first. Some were delayed because your internal confidence had to mature before the blessing could sit safely in your hands. If you had received certain opportunities 2 years ago, you would have doubted yourself inside them. If you had stepped into certain relationships earlier, you would have tolerated less than you deserve. If you had gained certain recognition before healing, it might have amplified your insecurity instead of your authority. The delay was mercy. Archangel Michael is making this clear now because you are entering a season where speed will increase. When acceleration begins, there is no time to question what has already been clarified. You must move with confidence. The file also contains a page titled, "Character Witness." This page describes who you are when no one is watching. It documents moments of integrity that no audience applauded. It lists decisions where you chose honesty over convenience. It records times when you walked away quietly instead of retaliating loudly. Heaven measures character differently than the world. What people overlooked, heaven highlighted. And now, that hidden character is about to be rewarded openly. But listen carefully. The file also includes a warning section labeled, "Guard the Upgrade." As your life begins to shift, as doors open and clarity increases, you must protect your mindset. Do not revisit environments that drained you. Do not reattach to conversations that shrank you. Do not allow nostalgia to pull you back into cycles that were broken for a reason. When heaven upgrades your positioning, you cannot afford old habits. Archangel Michael emphasizes this because growth often attracts familiarity. Some people will attempt to reconnect when they sense your elevation. Some situations will present themselves again in disguised form. But you will feel the difference this time. Your discernment has sharpened. The file reveals that one of your greatest strengths is spiritual sensitivity. You sense shifts before they happen. You feel energy before it speaks. You detect inconsistency before it becomes visible. For a long time, you questioned this sensitivity. You wondered if you were overthinking. You doubted your instincts. But the heavenly record confirms something powerful. Your discernment was protection. And now it will become strategy. There is another section titled New Assignments. This is where things become forward-focused. You are not just being blessed for personal comfort. You are being positioned for influence. The file indicates that your testimony will unlock courage in others. Your survival story will become someone else's confirmation. Your endurance will become someone else's evidence that breakthrough is possible. But influence requires responsibility. You cannot speak fear into spaces where you are meant to release faith. You cannot entertain doubt where you are assigned to release clarity. You cannot downplay your growth when others are watching for proof that growth is real. This is not pressure. This is purpose. Archangel Michael is announcing that your name is now circulating in rooms you have never entered. Conversations about you are happening in places you cannot see yet. Opportunities are aligning through networks you did not build manually. Do not attempt to control it. Divine orchestration does not require human manipulation. The file also includes a file notation at the end of this segment. It reads, "Prepared for sudden shift." Sudden does not mean chaotic. It means overdue alignment arriving at once. You may experience rapid changes soon. A phone call that alters direction. A meeting that opens access. A realization that closes an old chapter instantly. When it happens, do not panic. You were prepared in advance. Everything you endured was training for stability inside sudden favor. And here is the truth that will anchor you. You are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are stepping into something pre-written. The heavenly file was not created yesterday. It existed before your confusion, before your heartbreak, before your questioning. It has always contained a version of your future that survived every obstacle. And now that it is unlocked, events will begin aligning with what was already approved. Archangel Michael stands as confirmation that what is unfolding is authorized. So when things begin shifting, remember this moment. Remember that the delay was intentional. Remember that the protection was active. Remember that the upgrade was earned. And most importantly, remember that this is only the continuation of a story heaven has been writing about you all along. Steadfast soul, the deeper layers are now being uncovered. When the secret file in heaven was unlocked, it did not only expose your past and clarify your present. It revealed a confrontation that has been quietly unfolding around your destiny. There is a section titled, Opposition Assigned to Greatness. This is where many would tremble, but you must not. The file makes something unmistakably clear. The intensity of your battles was proportional to the weight of your calling. Small destinies do not attract strategic resistance. Ordinary paths do not require extraordinary protection. The reason your life has felt like a series of unusual tests is because your assignment carries unusual impact. Archangel Michael has been positioned as a guardian over that impact. There were moments when confusion tried to cloud your mind. Moments when exhaustion tried to convince you to settle. Moments when disappointment whispered that your effort was pointless. But behind the scenes there was enforcement. There was containment. There was limitation placed on what could and could not touch you. The file reveals something striking. It shows that certain attacks were permitted only to develop resilience, but never to destroy you. The boundaries were strict. The duration was controlled. The outcome was never in question. You were never fighting for survival. You were training for authority. There is another page labeled Emotional Warfare. This section is personal. It documents the nights when doubt spoke louder than faith. The days when comparison crept in quietly. The seasons when you felt invisible despite your effort. It records the internal battles that no one applauded you for winning. And next to those entries is one powerful phrase: strength increased. Every time you chose not to retaliate, strength increased. Every time you remained silent instead of defending yourself endlessly, strength increased. Every time you trusted God without visible evidence, strength increased. You thought you were barely holding on. Heaven was strengthening your core. Archangel Michael now reveals that the emotional pressure you survived was preparing you for public composure. You cannot lead others through storms if you collapse in light rain. You cannot carry responsibility if minor criticism shakes your identity. Your inner battles built invisible muscles. The file also contains a section called Hidden Favor. This is where your perspective must shift completely. While you were focused on what was not happening, favor was quietly accumulating. While you were counting delays, heaven was counting endurance credits. While you were questioning timing, connections were being positioned in places you did not yet have access to. Hidden favor does not announce itself early. It waits for maturity. You may soon experience moments where things align too precisely to ignore, where help appears without struggle, where opportunities feel custom designed. That will not be coincidence. It will be stored favor being released. But there is a caution written beneath that page. It says, remain humble during manifestation. When acceleration begins, pride often tries to enter silently. When recognition increases, ego attempts to whisper. But you must remember where this began. It began in hidden prayer. It began in silent endurance. It began in seasons where only heaven saw your tears. Archangel Michael emphasizes humility because humility sustains what pride can destroy. The file then transitions into something that may surprise you. There is a document titled Generational Shift. This indicates that your breakthrough is not isolated. What is unlocking in your life carries ripple effects. Patterns that existed before you may end with you. Limitations that defined previous cycles may not define yours. You are not only building for yourself, you are interrupting repetition. This is why resistance felt inherited at times. This is why certain struggles seemed older than your own experiences. You were not just confronting personal obstacles. You were confronting patterns that required courage to dismantle. And you did not run. Archangel Michael is announcing that because you stood firm, the shift is permanent. However, there is one more revelation in this segment of the file. It is labeled Final Test Before Elevation. This is not meant to alarm you. It is meant to prepare you. Before visible transition, there is often one last opportunity to respond differently than you would have in the past. It may come disguised as irritation. It may come disguised as misunderstanding. It may come disguised as delay. But this time, you will notice something different inside yourself. Calm, confidence, clarity. The reaction that once would have consumed you will now feel unnecessary. The validation you once would have chased will now feel irrelevant. The argument you once would have engaged in will now feel beneath your growth. That is how you will know you have passed. The file does not predict failure. It anticipates maturity. And once this final confirmation unfolds, the next pages move into visible transition. Archangel Michael stands firm over this process, not as a distant observer, but as an assigned protector, ensuring that what was written cannot be erased. You are closer than you realize. The battles are no longer about survival. They are about positioning. The pressure is no longer about breaking you. It is about revealing you. And as this unfolds, you will begin to see that nothing you endured was random. Nothing you survived was meaningless. Nothing you waded through was wasted. The file is active. The resistance is weakening. And the authority you trained for is about to become visible. Courageous heart, the shift you have been sensing is no longer subtle. As the secret file in heaven continues to unfold, a new section has been activated. It is titled, Alignment of Environment. This is where external reality begins to match internal growth. For a long time, you were evolving inwardly while your surroundings looked unchanged. You were maturing quietly while your circumstances appeared stagnant. But now, what has developed within you is about to demand a different atmosphere around you. Archangel Michael is not only guarding your destiny, he is supervising the rearrangement of your environment. The file reveals that certain spaces you once occupied comfortably will begin to feel restrictive. Conversations that once entertained you will now exhaust you. Places that once felt familiar may now feel temporary. This is not dissatisfaction. It is displacement by design. Growth makes old environments feel smaller. Here is a powerful notation written beside this section. It says, "Do not mistake movement for loss." When things begin to shift, when people reposition themselves, when routines are interrupted, your first instinct may be to hold on. But the file is clear. What is leaving is not being stolen. It is being exchanged. Archangel Michael is ensuring that what remains around you matches who you have become. There is also a subsection called Divine Introductions. This is where anticipation rises. It indicates that new connections are approaching. People who carry wisdom that sharpens you. People who recognize your value without competition. People who speak your language of faith and vision without explanation. These introductions are not random networking. They are orchestrated alignment. You may encounter someone unexpectedly who feels familiar in spirit. You may receive guidance from someone who understands your assignment without lengthy explanation. These are not coincidences. They are scheduled intersections. But remember this carefully. Not every new face is permanent. Discernment remains essential. The file emphasizes balance. It says, "Welcome alignment, guard access." Archangel Michael continues to guard the perimeter of your life. While opportunities increase, so will distractions. While clarity rises, so will subtle tests of focus. You cannot afford to entertain every invitation simply because it looks promising. There is something else unfolding in this chapter of the file. It is labeled Voice Activation. For a long time, you questioned your authority to speak. You hesitated to share your insights. You minimized your perspective to avoid standing out. But the heavenly record indicates that your voice carries impact beyond what you imagine. Your experiences were not just for survival. They were for articulation. There are people who will understand their own struggles through your testimony. There are individuals waiting for confirmation that growth is possible, and your journey will become their evidence. Do not silence what heaven is amplifying. And as you step into this phase, engagement becomes important. If this message resonates deeply, take action right now. Like this video to declare agreement with the shift taking place. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that their season is changing. Comment your faith boldly so your words align with the transformation unfolding. Subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that refuses to shrink in destiny. When you actively respond, you are reinforcing the alignment that heaven has initiated. Because what comes next will require bold participation. Here is a final section in this part of the file that carries strong emphasis. It is titled, Stability and Acceleration. Acceleration sounds exciting, but without stability it becomes overwhelming. That is why your past seasons felt slow. Slowness builds foundation. Waiting builds discipline. Silence builds self-control. Now, as speed increases, you will not be shaken. You may notice rapid developments, quick decisions that feel clear, opportunities that require immediate response. In the past, sudden change might have caused anxiety, but this time, you will feel grounded. Archangel Michael is announcing that your internal structure can now handle external expansion. There is also a subtle warning written at the bottom of this page. It says, do not explain your growth to those committed to your old identity. Not everyone deserves access to your evolution. Some people are comfortable with the version of you that doubted yourself. Some prefer the version that asked for permission. But you are not that person anymore. You are not obligated to shrink to maintain comfort. As alignment unfolds, your confidence will become quieter but stronger. You will no longer seek validation from spaces that never understood you. You will no longer overextend to prove your worth. You will simply walk in what hath been unlocked, and that walk will speak louder than any argument. The secret file continues to confirm something powerful. You were never behind. You were being built. The rearrangement happening now is not chaos. It is choreography. Archangel Michael stands firm over this transition. What is aligning cannot be reversed. What is leaving cannot sabotage. What is coming cannot be blocked. So when shifts accelerate, remember this moment. Remember that heaven unlocked your name intentionally. Remember that your growth was documented carefully. Remember that your next environment is responding to your new level. What unfolds next will reveal how visible this alignment is about to become. Watchful soul, what is unfolding now is no longer preparation alone. It is manifestation beginning to take form. As the secret file in heaven continues to reveal its contents, a powerful section has come into view. It is titled, Public Confirmation of Private Promotion. For years, your growth happened quietly. Your lessons were learned in solitude. Your discipline was developed without applause. But this next movement will not remain hidden. Archangel Michael is signaling that what was cultivated in secrecy is about to be validated in visibility. The file explains that there is a difference between being seen and being recognized. Many people are seen, but few are recognized for who they truly are. Recognition is not about popularity. It is about alignment. It is about being positioned where your value is undeniable. You are stepping into spaces where your presence will carry weight. There is a notation beside this section that reads, Prepared for scrutiny. When visibility increases, observation increases. People will study your decisions. They will interpret your silence. They will analyze your movement. But what once intimidated you will no longer disturb you, because your foundation is no longer fragile. The file reveals that earlier seasons of misunderstanding trained you for this. When people misjudged you in smaller rooms, it strengthened your ability to remain composed in larger ones. When your intentions were questioned unfairly, it sharpened your integrity. When you were overlooked, it purified your motives. Now, you will not be moved by applause or criticism. You will be anchored in purpose. Archangel Michael emphasizes this because elevation without emotional maturity becomes unstable. But you have matured. You have learned to detach from the need to prove. You have learned to speak when necessary and remain silent when wisdom requires it. There is another page labeled, Restoration of Authority. This is where the atmosphere shifts strongly. Authority is not loud. It is not aggressive. It is calm certainty. And the file indicates that your authority was never removed. It was refined. There were seasons when you felt powerless, when circumstances seemed to dictate your direction. But in reality, your authority was being purified from ego and fear. And now, when you speak, it will carry clarity. When you decide, it will carry weight. When you move, it will carry intention. This restoration is internal before it becomes external. You may notice that you hesitate less. You may find that decisions come with unusual peace. You may observe that you no longer overthink conversations that once consumed you. That is restoration in action. The file also includes a section called Shift in Perception. For a long time, you interpreted delays as rejection. You interpreted silence as abandonment. You interpreted struggle as punishment. But now, perception is being corrected. You will begin to see how perfectly orchestrated your journey has been. You will recognize how certain disappointments prevented greater pain. You will understand how certain rejections redirected you toward alignment. Clarity is replacing confusion. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to this correction. He has seen the full picture from the beginning. And now, you are being allowed to glimpse portions of it. There is something deeply personal written at the end of this segment. It says, confidence without arrogance. This is the balance heaven has been building within you. Confidence rooted in identity, not comparison. Assurance grounded in calling, not competition. Strength that does not need to diminish others to feel secure. In upcoming days, you may find yourself walking differently. Not physically, but spiritually. Your posture will shift. Your tone will steady. Your boundaries will strengthen. You will not argue your worth. You will embody it. And here is a powerful truth revealed in this file. Some of the people who doubted you will witness your growth. Not as revenge, but as revelation. They will see consistency where they expected collapse. They will observe stability where they anticipated chaos. You are not rising to impress anyone. You are rising because it is time. There is also a final note in this chapter labeled, Remain focused during applause. When validation begins to surface, distraction often follows. Invitations will increase. Attention will grow. Opportunities will multiply. But you must remember the original assignment. Archangel Michael reminds you that recognition is a tool, not the goal. Influence is a platform, not the destination. The destination remains obedience. The file confirms that your next steps require precision. You cannot afford to chase every open door. You must move according to alignment, not excitement. As manifestation begins, your discernment must remain sharp. The hidden season trained you for humility. The waiting season trained you for patience. The battle season trained you for resilience. Now the visible season will test your focus. And you are ready. Because the secret file did not unlock prematurely. It unlocked at the exact moment your character could sustain what your calling demands. Archangel Michael stands over this transition with unwavering authority. What has been written cannot be reversed. What has been approved cannot be cancelled. You are stepping into confirmation. And what becomes visible next will make it undeniable that heaven has moved your name into a new chapter. Precious soul, The atmosphere around your name has officially shifted. As the secret file in heaven continues to unfold, a radiant section has now been revealed. It is titled, Release of Stored Glory. This is not about human praise. This is about divine weight being placed upon your life in a visible way. Glory, in this context, means evidence of God's hand resting unmistakably upon you. For years you walked faithfully without visible reward. You remained consistent when recognition was absent. You stayed disciplined when results were delayed. But the file shows that nothing was lost. It was stored. Stored obedience. Stored faith. Stored restraint. Stored integrity. And now, that stored glory is being released. Archangel Michael stands at this threshold like a guardian announcing a royal decree. The time of quiet accumulation is transitioning into visible expression. This does not mean instant perfection. It means unmistakable movement. You may begin to notice favor in unusual places. Doors that once resisted you may now open without effort. Conversations that once felt tense may now feel cooperative. People who once overlooked you may now seek your insight. This is not coincidence. This is release. The file contains a powerful notation that reads, What was contained will now expand. Your influence will no longer be limited to small circles. Your impact will stretch beyond familiar boundaries. Your voice will travel further than you expected. But here is the sacred warning written beneath that promise. Expand with wisdom. Expansion without wisdom leads to exhaustion. Growth without boundaries leads to burnout. As your territory increases, so must your discipline. Archangel Michael is not only releasing favor, he is reinforcing protection. There is another page titled, Purification of Motives. Before expansion reaches its full capacity, motives are refined once more. This may appear as moments of introspection. You may feel prompted to check your intentions. You may sense a call to remain grounded even as doors open. This is not insecurity. It is calibration. Heaven ensures that when glory is released, it rests upon a pure foundation. The file then reveals something deeply moving. It is labeled, Reward for Hidden Sacrifice. There were sacrifices you made that no one understood. There were choices that cost you comfort. There were moments when obedience required you to walk alone. Heaven recorded every one of them. And now, the reward will not always look like money or status. Sometimes it will look like peace. Sometimes it will look like clarity. Sometimes it will look like authority that cannot be challenged. You will feel lighter. Not because responsibilities disappeared, but because resistance decreases. Archangel Michael declares that certain unseen obstacles have been permanently removed. What once slowed you will no longer have access. What once strained you will no longer attach. This is liberation. If this message is confirming what your spirit has sensed, respond boldly. Type I step into my release in the comments as a declaration of alignment. Blessing code 8821 is now activated over those who receive this expansion. And now hear this carefully. The release of stored glory is not only for your benefit, it carries assignment. When light increases in your life, darkness in others is exposed. When clarity strengthens within you, confusion in others begins to dissolve. You are becoming a reference point. And as this unfolds, the mission expands with you. When you sow into messages that unlock revelation, you are not funding a platform. You are fueling a river. The word declares, Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And this is not ancient history. This is God speaking directly into your now. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are planting seed into ground where lives are being awakened. I am calling you into prophetic partnership, not passive listening. This is your moment to respond as heaven responds to you. As you sow, may open heavens follow you, may oil of favor rest upon your home, and may your expansion multiply beyond expectation. Act now and seal this release with obedience. The file continues beyond this point, and what remains is even more direct. There is a final notation at the end of this chapter. It says, "No more containment. The season of restriction has expired. The season of limitation has ended. You will not need to fight for visibility. You will not need to beg for opportunity. You will not need to convince others of your worth. You will simply walk, and doors will recognize you." Archangel Michael stands firm over this declaration. What hath been unlocked cannot be resealed. What hath been released cannot be withdrawn. The stored glory is no longer hidden. And what manifests next will confirm that heaven has shifted you into an undeniable expansion. Steady believer, what unfolds now moves beyond expansion and into establishment. The secret file in heaven has revealed glory, alignment, protection, and release. But now a deeper inscription comes into focus. This section is titled, "Permanent Shift of Position." This is not a temporary elevation. This is not a short-lived breakthrough. This is a structural change in where you stand spiritually, emotionally, and even socially. Archangel Michael is not announcing a moment. He is announcing a relocation. For years, you functioned in a place of proving yourself. You felt the need to explain your intentions, defend your choices, justify your growth. But the file indicates that you are being moved into a space where proof is no longer required. Your results will speak. Your peace will speak. Your consistency will speak. There is a powerful notation written beside this section. It says, "Stability secure." This means the instability that once followed you hath been broken. The cycle of building and losing, trusting and regretting, hoping and doubting, that cycle hath been interrupted. You are entering a season where what you build will remain. What you start will mature. What you establish will not collapse under pressure. Archangel Michael has overseen the dismantling of old patterns. Some of those patterns were inherited. Some were learned. Some were formed through survival. But they no longer have authority over your future. You may notice something subtle but powerful. Your reactions will change. Situations that once triggered fear will now produce strategy. Conversations that once intimidated you will now feel manageable. Decisions that once overwhelmed you will now feel clear. This is establishment taking root. The file also reveals a page labeled, "Reputation Restoration." There were seasons when your name was misunderstood, when your silence was misinterpreted, when your boundaries were labeled incorrectly. But heaven has been recording truth while people formed opinions. Now, restoration of reputation begins. This does not mean you will chase validation. It means clarity will surface naturally. Those who misjudged you will quietly adjust their perspective. Those who doubted you will witness consistency. Those who question your motives will observe integrity over time. You do not need to defend what God is revealing. Archangel Michael emphasizes that vindication will come through evidence, not argument. Here is another profound section in this file titled, "Financial and Structural Alignment." This does not promise instant wealth or unrealistic outcomes. It speaks of order replacing confusion. It speaks of stability replacing anxiety. It speaks of provision aligning with purpose. You may begin to notice improved decision-making. You may feel guided to manage your resources differently. You may sense clarity about investments of time and energy. This is divine intelligence being activated. Heaven is not only interested in your spiritual growth, it is concerned with your practical stability. There is also a warning written beneath this alignment. It reads, "Do not revisit emergency mindset." For a long time, you operated in survival mode. You expected loss. You prepared for disappointment. You anticipated instability. But survival thinking cannot coexist with established blessing. You must release the expectation of collapse. Archangel Michael declares that fear of loss is being dismantled. What is built now rests on stronger foundation. What is forming now carries permanence. There is a deeply personal notation at the end of this chapter. It says, "Inner peace becomes default." Peace will no longer feel rare. It will feel normal. You will wake without heaviness. You will move without constant tension. You will think without excessive doubt. This peace is not absence of responsibility. It is presence of confidence. You survived seasons where peace felt distant, and now peace will become your atmosphere. And as establishment solidifies, you will notice something even more profound. Your standards will rise. You will no longer tolerate environments that drain you. You will no longer entertain relationships that diminish you. You will no longer accept opportunities that compromise you. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. Archangel Michael stands over this permanent shift with authority. What hath been corrected cannot revert. What hath been strengthened cannot weaken easily. What hath been clarified cannot return to confusion. You are not stepping into temporary relief. You are stepping into structured advancement. And here is the truth that anchors it all. The secret file was unlocked after a very long time because permanence required preparation. Temporary blessings can arrive quickly. Permanent shifts require development. You have been developed. The instability of your past was not your destiny. It was your training ground. The confusion of your earlier seasons was not your identity. It was your classroom. Now the foundation is firm. The cycle is broken. The position is secured. And what unfolds next will reveal how this permanent shift begins to influence not only your life, but the lives connected to yours. Awakened one, the next revelation in your heavenly file carries urgency. Until now, you have heard about protection, restoration, expansion, and establishment. But this section is different. It is titled, Strategic Timing Window. This means there is a specific period unfolding right now that carries unusual opportunity. Not pressure, opportunity. Not panic, precision. Archangel Michael is emphasizing timing because destiny is not only about what is written. It is also about when it is executed. The file reveals that you are standing in a narrow but powerful window where decisions carry multiplied impact. What you choose in this season will echo further than you realize. Conversations initiated now will open doors later. Boundaries set now will protect you in future seasons. Steps taken now will accelerate alignment. This is not about rushing. It is about responding. There were past seasons when movement would have been premature. If you had acted then, the foundation would not have supported you. But now, the structure is ready. The maturity is present. The clarity is active. Here is a strong notation written beside this section. It says, "Do not hesitate out of old fear. Fear once served as caution. It protected you from reckless decisions. But that same fear cannot govern you now. What once guarded you may now limit you. You must recognize the difference." Archangel Michael is announcing that hesitation in this season could delay what is already authorized. Not cancel it, but delay it. And you have waited long enough. There is also a page labeled Divine Green Light. This is rare language in the heavenly file. It indicates approval. It indicates readiness. It indicates that the preparation phase has completed its assignment. You may feel an inner prompting to apply, to initiate, to speak, to create, to move. That prompting is not random motivation. It is synchronization. But alongside the green light is a caution. It reads, move with discipline. Excitement without discipline leads to missteps. Energy without structure leads to waste. As you step into this timing window, maintain focus. Avoid distractions disguised as opportunities. Remain aligned with the core assignment that has been revealed to you. Archangel Michael continues to guard the perimeter. What is not meant for you will not succeed. But you must still choose wisely. There is something else in this section that carries weight. It is titled, Separation from Subtle Sabotage. In this season, you will clearly see what drains you. You will recognize patterns that quietly slowed you down. You will detect conversations that subtly discouraged you. The fog will lift. Do not ignore what becomes obvious. This is not a time to be overly accommodating. This is a time to be intentional. And if this message is igniting clarity inside you, act in agreement. Like this video as a declaration that you are stepping into divine timing. Share it with someone who had been waiting for confirmation. Comment your commitment boldly so your words align with your movement. Subscribe to this channel and stand with a community that refuses to miss their appointed season. When you engage, you reinforce your readiness for what is unfolding. Because what happens next depends on awareness. The file now reveals a deeper layer called acceleration through obedience. Obedience sounds simple, but it requires courage. It means doing what aligns even when it feels uncomfortable. It means choosing growth over familiarity. It means saying yes to what stretches you and no to what shrinks you. You may feel prompted to release something that once felt secure. You may sense a need to shift your routine. You may feel guided to pursue something you delayed out of uncertainty. This is the window. Archangel Michael declares that obedience in this moment carries multiplied reward. What might have taken years to build could now compress into months. What once seemed distant could now approach quickly. But timing windows do not remain open forever. This is not meant to create anxiety. It is meant to awaken focus. There is a file notation at the bottom of this section. It says, confidence required. You cannot step into strategic timing while doubting your worth. You cannot walk through open doors while questioning whether you belong there. The file confirms that you belong. You were prepared for this. Your delays trained you. Your battles strengthened you. Your waiting refined you. Now movement is required. Archangel Michael stands firmly at the entrance of this timing window, not to push you, but to confirm you. The green light is active. The hesitation must end. You are not stepping into something uncertain. You are stepping into something written. And what unfolds from this obedience will reveal that the secret file was unlocked not only for revelation, but for immediate action. Devoted heart, what is now being revealed carries a sacred finality. The secret file in heaven has walked you through protection, refinement, expansion, establishment, and divine timing. But this next section is unlike the others. It is titled, Irreversible Transition. This means that what is unfolding in your life is no longer optional, no longer theoretical, and no longer reversible. Archangel Michael stands at this threshold not as a messenger alone, but as a witness to a completed preparation. The file indicates that you have crossed an invisible line. There was a version of you that tolerated confusion, accepted less than alignment, and questioned your authority. That version has expired. You may still remember how it felt to live that way, but you cannot return to it comfortably. Here is a strong notation written beside this section. It says, "Old identity dissolve." This is not about personality. It is about posture. You no longer approach life from insecurity. You no longer negotiate your worth internally. You no longer shrink to maintain approval. Even if you attempt to, it will feel unnatural. The discomfort is proof of growth. Archangel Michael reveals that this transition had been gradual but intentional. Each delay chipped away at dependence on external validation. Each disappointment redirected you toward internal strength. Each silent season strengthened your connection to divine direction. Now you stand in a place of clarity that cannot be undone. The file also includes a page labeled, "New Level of Responsibility." Elevation is not only about blessing, it is about stewardship. The influence you are stepping into requires discipline. The authority you now carry requires integrity. The visibility approaching you requires consistency. You cannot respond to new opportunities with old habits. This responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it is not burden. It is trust. Heaven does not entrust greater influence to unstable foundations. The fact that this section has been unlocked confirms your readiness. There is something deeply personal written in this chapter. It says, "Peace with past." For years, certain memories held emotional charge. Certain names triggered reaction. Certain seasons caused regret. But now, as this irreversible transition takes place, the emotional grip of the past weakens. You will remember without resentment. You will reflect without regret. You will recall without reliving. This is freedom. Archangel Michael emphasizes that unresolved emotions cannot cross into established destiny. That is why healing was necessary. That is why waiting was unavoidable. That is why some doors remained closed until you no longer desired them. And now you are not tempted by what once distracted you. There is also a section titled, "Alignment of Inner and Outer Life." In previous seasons, you felt divided, internally growing but externally constrained, confident in prayer but cautious in public, clear in private but hesitant in action. That division ends now. Your inner conviction will match your outer decisions. You will no longer speak boldly in secret and shrink publicly. You will no longer dream privately and doubt openly. What you believe will align with how you move. This integration is powerful. The file reveals that when the inner and outer alignment occurs, momentum increases. Energy is no longer wasted managing dual identities. Focus sharpens. Direction strengthens. There is one more profound notation at the bottom of this chapter. It reads, "Legacy activation." This means your actions are no longer affecting only your immediate present. They are shaping long-term impact. Decisions made now will influence years ahead. Seeds planted now will produce harvest beyond your current vision. You are not just building moments. You are building memory. You are building testimony. You are building structure that others will step into. Archangel Michael stands firm over this irreversible transition because legacy requires protection. As your influence grows, so will responsibility to remain anchored. There will be moments when nostalgia attempts to pull you backward. Familiar voices may try to remind you of who you used to be. Comfort zones may attempt to invite you back, but you will feel the difference. What once felt safe will now feel small. The secret file confirms that regression is no longer sustainable for you. Growth has become your default. Authority has become your posture. Clarity has become your compass. And here is the truth that seals this chapter. The irreversible transition did not happen overnight. It happened through endurance, through obedience, through countless small decisions that aligned with faith rather than fear. Now, the door behind you is closing gently, not with force, not with regret, but with completion. Archangel Michael declares that what lies ahead is not repetition, it is progression. And the final section of this heavenly file carries a declaration that will seal everything you have heard. Beloved chosen one, the final seal has now been revealed. The secret file in heaven, the one that carries your name and was unlocked after a very long time, has reached its concluding declaration. This last section is titled, Confirmed and Commission. This is not merely confirmation of blessing. It is commissioning into purpose. Archangel Michael stands at the close of this file not as a guardian of mystery anymore, but as a witness to fulfillment. What was written about you before your struggles began has now survived every test. What was spoken over you before doubt entered your mind has now outlived every contradiction. Here is a final statement written clearly across the page. Assignment active. This means you are no longer preparing for destiny. You are walking in it. The delays you questioned were construction zones. The heartbreaks you endured were purification chambers. The battles you fought were qualification processes. And now, nothing about your journey is accidental. You have been confirmed. The file reveals that heaven is no longer waiting on your readiness. It is responding to it. There were moments when your growth needed time. Moments when your faith needed strengthening. Moments when your discernment required sharpening. But now, the necessary foundation is complete. Archangel Michael declares that you are stepping into visible alignment with what was always yours. There is a powerful notation in this final chapter. It says, "No more permission required." For years you sought validation. You waited for acknowledgement. You hoped someone would recognize your value before you fully embraced it. But this declaration ends that cycle. You do not need human permission to walk in divine authorization. When opportunities appear, you will not question whether you belong. When doors open, you will not hesitate at the entrance. When responsibility increases, you will not shrink under its weight. Because the file confirms something unshakable. You were chosen intentionally. There is also a deeply moving section labeled, Evidence Will Follow. This means that what you have heard spiritually will soon be reflected practically. Changes in your environment. Shifts in conversations. Opportunities aligning without struggle. Peace stabilizing your thoughts. Confidence guiding your actions. Evidence will follow obedience. Archangel Michael emphasizes that the next season will not require you to explain yourself constantly. Your life will begin to explain itself. And here is the final revelation written at the bottom of the file. It reads, "Protected in advancement. Elevation will not expose you to destruction. Expansion will not remove covering. Visibility will not cancel protection. The same authority that guarded you in hidden seasons will guard you in public ones. You are not stepping into vulnerability. You are stepping into victory." If this message has pierced your spirit from the beginning, seal it now. I am confirmed and commissioned in the comments as a declaration of alignment. Blessing code 9090 has just been activated over those who received this assignment. Now hear this final call clearly. The unlocking of your heavenly file was not only for you. There are others whose names are still sealed, still waiting for revelation, still walking in confusion. When you sow into messages like this, you are not supporting a channel. You are unlocking destinies. The Lord says, Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. And this is not distant scripture. This is a living promise over your obedience today. As you release a super thanks, join membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description. You are planting seed into soil where souls are awakened and assignments are activated. I am asking you to respond as one who has been commissioned, not as one who is unsure. This is prophetic partnership. As you give, may increase pursue you, may protection surround you, and may open heavens answer you swiftly. Step forward now and seal this commissioning with action. The file is complete. The seal is broken. The assignment is active. Archangel Michael has spoken. And what unfolds next in your life will confirm that heaven has moved your name from preparation into purpose.